Grant Kirkhope é um nome facilmente reconhecível por qualquer um que tenha interesse em músicas de videogame. Desde os tempos do Nintendo 64 até os últimos lançamentos do Switch, ele trouxe ótimas composições e muita alegria para jogadores de todo o mundo. Eu tive a honra de conversar com ele por Skype e relembramos tanto seus dias trabalhando na lendária Rare como seus trabalhos mais recentes em Yooka-Laylee e Mario Rabbids. Então se liga aí e vamos juntos conhecer mais sobre esse camarada super gente fina. Eu espero que vocês se divirtam assistindo, tanto quanto eu me diverti conversando com o Grant.
Hello Brazil, this is Grant Kirkhope here. I'm the man that's famous for saying Umanaka and Ikombokum, and that's my only claim to fame. That's all I did. Just those two phrases. Yeah, it wasn't so much jazz, it was like more like a funk band really, called The Zoot and the Roots years ago. And I also played trumpet for Little Angels, who were quite a big UK rock band. And I did guitar in my own bands as well. I just think that, you know, I write music just the way it comes out of my head. So I don't know if I'm trying to sound like original, or I think it's just the way I write. Like I always think that like I'm a metal fan, right? So like when I was a kid, when I used to hear Eddie Van Halen or like Brian May play the guitar, like I always knew it was them just because of the way they played, the way the vibrato and all that. You know, you can recognize it a mile away. And so I think that it's just the way it comes out. I just write music like that. That's how I write it. I'm not a very intellectual composer. I just kind of mess around a bit until I think it sounds good. And I guess people keep saying I've got this kind of Kirkhopean sound, but it's just by accident, really. It's just the way I write. I can't help it. It's just the way it sounds. Right for that. So I started at Rare in 1995, and Robin Beanland, who's my good friend of mine, he was working on Killer Instinct 2 for the arcade machine. And because I was a guitar player, I played guitar and trumpet on that actually, but I didn't write any music for it. And then I worked on the Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy Kong's Quest. I converted David Wise's tunes from the SNES to work on the original Game Boy. So I didn't actually write any music until I started on GoldenEye. So that was my first game that I wrote music for. No, I did the music. So George Andreas, who was the head guy on Donkey Kong 64, he wrote the lyrics and I wrote all the music. So we did it together. Yeah, I was DK. So my DK sound effects are all me. I did quite a lot. I just can't remember. So because back in the day it used to be, I used to do a lot of it because it was just quick for me to do it quickly, rather than get somebody else to do it. But as the time went on at Rare, more people started to get keen to do the voices. So lots of other people joined in. But at the start, I just did most of it myself because it was easy. That's hard. Like I really, really loved being at Rare. It was such a fantastic place back then. I loved working for the Stamper family. They were such a great bunch of people to work for, and you know, just being on the banjo team right at the start, that was like we really hit it off as a bunch of friends. That's why the game turned out the way it did. Like we've been doing some interviews recently because it's like 20 years of this year's Banjo's 20th year, and we were talking about why the game had that kind of sense of humour, and it's because that team of people made it. Like we got on so well together. All the funny little in-jokes that we had just bled into the game. So that's why the game is the way it is, because of those people that made it. I mean, we were best of friends. We hung out together all the time. We worked together all the time. It just, you know, it was just such a great experience. So being on the banjo team at the start was brilliant, really great fun. I can't believe that people still talk about it like 20 years later. Like I never thought people would even think of the music 20 years later. It's amazing. I can't believe it. Yooka-Laylee, I think that people had kind of forgotten what it's like to play a 3D platform game. And it can be a little bit infuriating. That's part of the game, right? You're supposed to find things, you're supposed to explore. I think people these days are a little bit used to being led along too much. And when they get given like an open world game like that, they start to get lost and don't know what they're supposed to do. And more about the camera and all that. I mean, that's what it was like, in the N64. The camera was annoying. It was annoying on Banjo and all the games. I just think that people forgot what it was like to play those games and kind of complained about it a little bit. But the Switch version of Yooka-Laylee is probably the best version. It's the one with all the fixes. I mean, all the consoles now have got the fixes, but I think the Switch version is a great version of that game. I think, being a staff composer at Rare for 12 years was a really great experience. And one of the best things that I got from that was, I got used to going to work at 9 in the morning and starting to write music and finishing it at 5, right? So I think it was a great habit to get into. So I don't really get that writer's block. I just get used to sitting down in the morning and starting to write music at 9 in the morning or 8:30 or 8:45. That's just what I do. So I think it's a great kind of regime to get into. I think sometimes composers, hope for inspiration and sit all day and wait till the middle of the night or something like that. Like, I'm not like that. I just sit down at 9 and start working. I may not write something that's any good, but I'll write something, and also, being a freelancer, often you work on multiple projects. So you might have to work on a lot of things, once. And so it's a great thing it's kind of, I guess the pressure's heavier when you're a freelancer. When you're a staff composer, like, I might be in a game for 2-3 years, the same game. But I think as a freelance guy, you can be brought in near the end, so you've got like a few weeks to write it, or you might be brought in at the beginning. Like on Mario Rabbids, I was brought in right at the beginning. But I worked on that game for probably at least 2 years, if not a bit longer. And I really wrote something for it every day for 2 years. There was no day I didn't write something for that game, even weekends. It's just different. I do like being a freelance guy better than being a staff guy. Because I know when I work best. Like, I think sometimes when you work at a company, you're there from 9 till 5, and after 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm not very good. I'm better later on. So I bet my best writing is like first things, like 8:45, so 1 or 2 in the afternoon, and then I might have a little bit of a break, and I go and get the kids from school and get the groceries and all the rest of it, and then I might start, if I'm busy, I start again at like 7 at night to work, later on, so I can do it then. But like in the afternoon, I'm not very good. Like I'm a bit sleepy, and I don't write very good stuff. So my hours are better as a freelancer. I get more done in shorter time. It was mainly Ubisoft who chose the tunes to write. So Davide Soliani in Milan, he would have an idea to use like the Mario Castle theme from Mario 64 that I used in Peach's Castle in Mario Rabbids. It was his idea. And we had to ask Nintendo if it was all right. They did suggest it. We'd asked them what we could use. Can we use this? Can we use that? And they'd say, yes, you can't use that, but you can use that. Or, they'd decide. And they were really good. I mean, I didn't get very much pressure at all from them. A couple of times they said this. They talked about when I was doing what was it? Oh, it was the that kind of game over melody. I had to work that out from kind of a YouTube clip, and I got one of the harmony parts mixed up. I had it backwards, and so they're very polite and said, Grant, it sounds great, but can you just change this harmony over? And they sent me the sheet music of the thing, which that was amazing. I got music from Nintendo actually written out in music. I just thought that was incredible. What else did they talk about? Something in DK, that part of the DK theme. They wanted to change it a little bit, but I got off very lightly. I think they were super nice, and they just a couple of little things. Sometimes they used to say to me in the cinematic sequences that maybe I didn't get Mario's emotions quite right, so maybe changed a little bit. It was so little, it wasn't very much. I think the dev team in Milan had a harder time than me because they had to kind of animate Mario the right way and all that kind of stuff, and Luigi and all the rest of the characters. So I think, for a composer like me, I think I'm the first Western composer to ever write for Mario. So that was really scary. It was exciting, but really scary. So I was, panicking about it, thinking, oh my God, if I make a mess of this, everyone's going to hate me. And, my kids won't talk to me ever again, and all that stuff. So it turned out great, but at the start I was pretty scared. Like in Banjo-Kazooie, that team was a really dedicated, passionate team. And when I first met the guys in Milan and Paris, they're also really dedicated and passionate. And I think, like you say, I think it really shows in the game. I don't think you can manufacture that. I think it has to be a feeling that the team has. And I think all those guys in Milan and Paris, were so respectful of Mario and all the characters and wanted to make it so great because they love Nintendo and love Mario and the guys so much that they tried so hard. And I think it really shows in the game. Everybody kept saying you can feel the passion in the game, and that's something that doesn't happen by accident. It's something that you really have to, gel together. And I met the guys in Milan, and they're great fun. They have great fun together. That camaraderie, that makes games great. It's Zelda, really. Like my favourite game of all time is still a Zelda: Link to the Past on the SNES. That's still my favourite game. I love that game. I played it so many times, and the music's great in that. And I'd love to write a bit for Zelda. I mean, it's never going to happen, but I guess if there's anything I'd like to write for, it'd probably be something like that. Because I love Zelda. When I was younger, I thought it was a fantastic game. I'm not the kind of person that likes to think that I've got fans. I hate that kind of ego thing. And I just kind of feel that we're all friends together. So if I've got friends in Brazil, I'm very happy about that. I sometimes feel that people forget about South America and forget about all that massive landmass that's lots of people there. And I think at Rare, we used to always really to make sure our games came out down there, because not everyone did. Because we knew there was loads of guys down there and girls who wanted to play games and didn't have them, So we used to try super hard to make sure that happened. So I'm so glad that people in Brazil got to play some games that I worked on. I did get asked to come to Brazil for something ages ago, and I couldn't make it. But I'd love to come, of course, but I just never got never been asked since. No one's asked me since. But I think for anybody like me, any game developer, to think they've got people around the world that like what they do, that is really special. I think for one person to like something that came out of my head is amazing. Like something that I made up in my head and wrote down and someone liked it. That's just the best, right? So, if people in Brazil like my stuff, and it's fantastic. What can I say? Thank you very much. Oh.